All right, so listen to this. Every single game this season, the Lions have trailed in the fourth quarter, and the games have been decided by 7 points or fewer. Now, to put this in perspective, since '08, 8 teams have trailed in the fourth in each of their first 11 games in a season. Detroit, they're 7-4, while the other 7 teams were a combined 4-73 through 11 games.
Charmed life. Charmed life would be up by 30 in the fourth quarter.
That's fair, yeah.
We're just battling. I think that's more than anything. We don't feel lucky to be down in every fourth quarter. We feel like we're working our tails off to get wins, and have still yet to put together, a 3-phase, 60-minute game where we all play really well. But as we're learning about our team and building and getting better, we're finding ways to win games, and that's important.
I like what Stafford had to say there. Yesterday was no different as they beat the Vikings for the second time this season and claimed the top spot in the NFC North. Stephen A., are the Lions lucky or are they good?
I think they're good. I got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, anytime you go out there and you show the level of resiliency that they have put on display, you got to give a lot of credit. I got to give credit to Jim Caldwell. I didn't think he was long for this job, particularly the way they struggled last year. But when you look at the way that they've won this year, they've now beaten Minnesota twice. They're 7-4. They're on a roll right now, and they've got holes everywhere. Their running game isn't that great, even though yesterday they averaged more than 4.5 yards per carry. And really, with Theo Reddick, there were no yardages for loss, so that's really impressive. The wide receivers showed up after having an off week, particularly Anquan Bolden in third down situations. Plus, he registered their only touchdown, and Golden Tate has been balling as well. Ebron was without a catch, though. They still won. Their offensive line wasn't doing a good job of protecting Matthew Stafford pretty much throughout the game. They still won. Their defensive line wasn't able to get any kind of pressure whatsoever on Sam Bradford for most of the game, yet they still won. And as you pointed out, they've trailed in the fourth quarter of every single game this year, yet they've managed to come back and win 7 of those 11 games. So it's about time to give them respect and love where it's due, because anytime you show that level of resiliency and you respond to that level of adversity, that is a huge plus. But in particular, when it comes to a guy like Matthew Stafford, we knew he had the talent. We knew he could make the requisite throws. We knew he could run with the football as well, which he showed us yesterday. But what we didn't know is that he would be and could be this type of leader. He clearly is. He deserves a lot of credit. I'm going to lean towards good a hell of a lot more than I'm going to lean towards luck.
But the answer is luck. And Matthew Stafford is in the MVP conversation. He wouldn't get my vote right now if I had one, but he is one of the names that should come up. He's having a fantastic year. Look, take it from a New York Football Giants fan. I know it when a team gets a little lucky. And by the way, most NFL teams are 8-8 kind of teams. The ones that you think of as kind of good got a little lucky. They were +2 in turnover differential a couple games, and they wind up 10-6. The kind of teams you think aren't so good, they got unlucky in that way. They wound up 6-10. I mean, but those are both basically the same 8-8 teams. But I will admit that those kind of teams, when they have a special quarterback, seem to eke out these kind of games. As I mentioned, the Giants, generally if they have a defense, which the Lions don't really have, but their bend but not break defense allowed them to keep the score low. And when the score is low, there are more possibilities at the end of the game because one score can win it, which is what the Lions did to the Vikings. If you look at their point differential, Stephen A., they're 7-4 in 11 games. They're +9 on the season. They're winning games their average point differential per game is less than 1 point. That's essentially a 500 team with a good quarterback. That's gotten a little lucky. Let me tell you some teams that are ahead of them in point differential. The Ravens are +12. It's 1 point better, but they're 5-5. The Cardinals, Arizona, you don't think of as having a good season. They're not, because it doesn't show up in the wins and losses. They're +36 on the year, and yet they're 4-5-1. The Chargers are +14 on the year, 4-6. These are all teams who have outscored the opponents by more than the Lions have, And yet you think of the Lions differently. They deserve credit for the fourth quarter comebacks. Stafford deserves credit. The team deserves credit. Congratulations. But there's a little luck involved here. They're fundamentally not a really good team. They're fundamentally an average NFL team where the balls bounced their way basically a couple times this year. That's what's going on, if we're honest. And by the way, the Giants rode that and a great defense to 2 Super Bowl wins in recent years. So, I mean, I know it when I see it.
Well, if you know it when you see it, then that debunks your whole argument, because you brag about the Giants and their 2 Super Bowl championships every chance you get. And not one time have I ever heard you mention the word luck. I'm sure you know it exists, but I never heard you mention it. So let's be clear about
Stephen
that.
A., it was
one.
skill.
Number two,
Don't listen to him. It was skill. That was not
well,
luck.
I'm
Blasphemy.
just saying,
by the way,
telling you, listen,
and
I'm not
an
disputing what
all-time
Max
great
is
clutch
saying.
quarterback.
Wait, whoa. I'm not disputing what you're saying, my brother. What I'm saying to you is that you left luck out when you talk about the Giants, but you're bringing it in here. I'm just
Totally
saying that your
different, Stephen A.
strategy has been exposed. That's all I'm trying to say.
No,
but in
that's
6 of the
totally
last
different.
7 games, I understand, but in 6 of the last 7 games, the Detroit Lions have won. And along that way, they've beaten the Eagles, they've beaten the Redskins, and they've beaten Minnesota twice. I can't ignore that.
That's, by the way, that's an outrageous claim that you're making. It's totally different. I bring it up now because it fits my argument now. It doesn't fit my
That's exactly
argument
what
when
I'm
I
saying.
talk about the
Slick.
Giants.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying.
Max
I agree
Kellerman,
with
the
you.
Giants, all skill.
Exactly
Big blue
what I'm
baby,
saying.
all day. Let's leave it there. We move on to the matchup within the matchup. One of the storylines that dominated the game was Dez Bryant versus Josh Norman. In the trash talk, folks, it was at an all-time high. Dez, tell us about it.
Washington need to get their money back. The guy can't even go one-on-one. He bails and he holds. Never seen it before. Never just seen that out of a player.
I played him 3-4 times now, and those times, I don't even think he broke 30 yards or had any significance on any kind of game.
Do you feel like he saw the real Dez Bryant this time around?
Man, he got lucky, put it that way.
You're talking last year. When he was there.
Oh, he got lucky then. He got lucky this year, too. We could have roasted his ass.
This guy bumped into me like, what's up? Where I'm from, we unload the clip, so pretty much whatever you want to do. Not that guy that see a challenge in front of my face and back down. That's not me.
I honestly feel like the guy's extremely soft. I think he's just a bunch of talk. You know, if he was out and about, I wouldn't dare in my life let him talk to me like that.
Max, yesterday was a holiday. Lots of eyeballs on this game. Did they go too far?
No, this was awesome. I mean, this is what you love to see, that level of competitiveness. And really, I guess the spilling over, the tipping point where it really boiled over was when Norman's going to congratulate Dak and Dez gets in his face and all this. But it had been going on all game, and this is part of Josh Norman's value. Not the highest draft pick, not the most athletic guy at the position, not considered a shutdown corner, and yet, when he matches up with the other team's top receiver, or even when those two teams play, he manages to get under the guy's skin. Odell Beckham, as I said, last year, burnt him all over the field, like burnt Josh Norman. I don't care what Josh Norman says. We all saw the game. But Beckham started dropping passes. Beckham doesn't drop passes. Why did that happen? Once again, Dez Bryant's team wins the game. And Dez talking about, I'm going to show you all the times that Josh Norman got burnt and this and that. But the bottom line is, it's Dez who seems to be catching feelings behind what happened. Josh Norman is not only an excellent player, he has this ability. He's like a souped-up Cortland Finnegan in this respect. He has this ability to get under the wideout skin, the star wideout skin, to take him out of his game, to make him something usually less than he is. And you got to give it to Norman because that comes from his pure competitiveness. And it's one of the reasons, as much as I dislike the Washington franchise as a Giants fan, that he's one of my favorite players to watch. Not the most talented, but maybe the most competitive.
Max Kellerman, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but forgive me if I veer left a little bit and bring up something else. And I'm quite sure, I don't think you missed it or anything like that. My perspective is just different than yours. And I'm quite sure with your level of sensitivity, you'll appreciate where I'm about to go. There's a quote in here where Josh Norman is accusing Dez Bryant of telling him after the game, "Where I'm from, we unload the clip." Now, let me tell you something. As a black man in America, particularly seeing what has transpired in the streets of Chicago over the last several years, when we're talking about murder after murder after murder that has been taking place and bodies falling by the wayside and lives being lost. And we're talking in an age about police brutality. And we've got folks like Colin Kaepernick, before he revealed what a hypocrite he was because of his unwillingness to vote and to exercise and activate himself in the last election, or any election for that matter, because we've learned that he's never registered to vote according to himself. I mean, the fact of the matter is we've got some real serious issues as it pertains to violence in America, and in particular in the black community. And so when you've got two brothers who are unquestionably elite, I know both of them, at least a little bit. I consider them both to be really good brothers that I'm incredibly proud of, the things that they've accomplished in their professional careers and beyond. This is not the kind of language we need to be hearing from them. You can't sit up there being elite as you are, being the winners that you are, thinking about your futures and the kind of impact that you're trying to have, not just on the football field, but extending beyond that. And then literally go in front of the media and start echoing stuff like this. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not, because to Dez Bryant's credit, he categorically denied that he had said what Josh Norman said he said. But if he is wrong, if he's lying, if he did say that, it's wrong, and we need to make sure it's clear. He don't need to be saying that to anybody.
I'm glad you brought that up, Stephen A.
And if you're Josh Norman, you damn sure don't need to be going to the media and telling the media that he said those words to you, because it's not just about you at that particular moment in time. It carries far more weight, and it contributes to the stereotypes that are attached to young black men and what they're willing to resort to in the event that there's some kind of disagreement, where by and large, we are law-abiding citizens that don't need to go that route. So I just think it's important that we make sure I got nothing but love and respect for both of them, Dez and Josh. But something like this, first of all, should never be said. And number two, and more, and just as important, if it was said between you two, that's not something you need to be going to the media.
That's where I disagree.
And telling everybody.
I think you're raising a very good point, because that's what jumped out at me too, that comment. I disagree that Norman shouldn't say it if Dez said it to him. If he's making it up, obviously that's bad. But if Dez actually said that, what Norman is, I mean, that's the indicator. Dez plays himself when he says that. What he's saying is, the feelings he has are so serious. Josh Norman was able to affect him like that emotionally, that he says something like that to him. He has to take it to that place, because that's how much Josh Norman got a hold of his brain in that situation. No. And Josh Norman reporting what Dez Bryant said, Dez didn't have to say it. He said it. Josh said, "This is what this dude told me." I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with Norman reporting that.
There's nothing wrong with it if it's just about you two, but when you say it to the media, you're disseminating that kind of message to the masses, and then all of a sudden, we're not just thinking about the two individuals, we're thinking about a community and the stereotypes that we have to fight against and battle against every single day.
That's
not
fair.
to mention, Max, that also Josh Norman stepped up and said at the end of it is that, hey, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. We could end the clip we could end it out on the field all day, every day. I'm just saying that you got to think about it beyond that. Listen, they're both good brothers, and I understand that we are sitting up here talking about it, and it can be viewed as being taken out of context. But it's important that they understand that the reason that I brought it up, the reason that I'm mentioning it, is because I happen to know that there are a bunch of people out there who don't look like us, don't share our culture, that are going to take it the way that I fear they're going to take it, and that's what I think the players need to watch out for.
Fair enough. Let's leave it there.